What's going on, guys? It's Royalty Crypto here and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of the original layer ones in the space, and that is Litecoin. I'm also going to be doing a deep dive on the overall crypto market as a whole, basically letting you guys know whether or not I think it's a good time to be buying, and I'll talk about where I expect these coins to go in the coming weeks to months. Also, guys, this is a brand new channel, so I would greatly appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get right on into this video. So guys, as you can see here, Bitcoin is currently trading at 102,100, so it is down a bit from last night. However, I'm not very concerned about that. I think that Bitcoin is actually starting to show some strength, and I do expect it to start to trend in the upwards direction in the next couple of weeks. Now, I can't say for sure that we've hit a bottom. We could definitely go lower. I could definitely see a scenario that Bitcoin trades down to about $92,000 to $96,000. But guys, if that were to happen, it would just give the bears more confidence that we're going into a bear market, and the bears have already stacked so much short leverage that could potentially be liquidated, and the more leverage trades that they make, the more that I'm convinced that we will have some sort of a short squeeze in the coming weeks. Now, there's also plenty of bullish macro events to come, and that's the main reason I believe that Bitcoin isn't going into a bear market, and I'll talk about a couple of those later on in this video. But let's go ahead and scroll down to the 19th most valuable coin in the space right now, and that is Litecoin. So Litecoin is currently trading at about $100.60, and as you can see here, it hasn't had any substantial moves in the past 7 days. It's basically been trading sideways, but I will say this, the 24-hour trading volume on this coin looks absolutely fantastic at $1.2 billion. So I do think that there is a legitimate chance that Litecoin could gain some bullish momentum, kind of like what we saw on Zcash and ICP in the past couple of days. Both are somewhat similar projects to Litecoin for the most part. For example, Zcash has been around for a very long time, and it really hasn't had much bullish traction in the past couple of years, but recently it decided to have a V-shaped pump to the upside and basically 12x'd in the past couple of weeks. So is it possible that Litecoin could have a similar move? I think that it is. I think that it is reasonable to believe that, especially if the layer 1 space stays as hot as it is right now. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the chart briefly. So when you're taking a look at the all-time chart, you can see that Litecoin topped in May of 2021 at $350 per coin. At the time, the trading volume was nearly $10 billion, so there was a lot of hype around this coin, but not only this coin, it was also just a very euphoric time in the market. So obviously, I would say that right now we are not experiencing any euphoria or any true altcoin season, but I do believe that there's a legitimate chance that we could have that euphoria return to the markets in Q1 of next year. Now, the reason I believe that is we have quantitative easing coming up, we have potential rate cuts around the corner, and we also have Jerome Powell being replaced in May by somebody that Trump will appoint. And now, if you guys have been paying attention to the comments Trump has made about Jerome Powell in the past year, you would know that Trump wants somebody in the Fed that is incredibly dovish and wants to cut rates and start QE as soon as possible. So I do expect that the hype around that Fed chair replacement will likely pump the markets in early next year. But guys, I do think that it is reasonable that Litecoin could return to the $350 range, and I'll go ahead and say that that is my most optimistic price target for Litecoin. So that would be about a 3.5x from here. Now, I know that there's plenty of other altcoins that I believe have more upside potential than Litecoin, but I do think that Litecoin is actually a very safe bet because as you can see here, guys, it's actually been around since like early 2013. So it's not going to be one of those coins that you need to worry about completely disappearing anytime soon, because I don't think that it will. And I actually do think that accumulating around the $100 range is a very reasonable bet. Another thing that I wanted to talk about with Litecoin, guys, is the fact that we now have a Litecoin spot ETF that went live about a week and a half ago, and we have 2 pending ETFs coming around the corner. So the current ETF that is live is the Canary Litecoin ETF, and it actually has had some decent net inflows in the past couple of days. As you can see, on November 6th, it had a net inflow of 640,000, November 4th, 200,000, October 31st, nearly $1 million. So it currently has a positive net inflow of $3.2 million. Now, of course, we would like to see that be substantially higher, and I don't know how much buying pressure of $3 million is really going to affect the price of Litecoin. However, you have to remember that Canary is a relatively small ETF company, so once Grayscale gets approved for their conversion from their current Litecoin trust to an actual Litecoin spot ETF, I could see Grayscale having some somewhat positive net inflows. So we'll just have to see what happens with the Grayscale ETF once it does go live. All right, guys, so I wanted to take a look at the crypto fear and greed index for the overall crypto market. So we are currently sitting at a 25, which is 5 points higher than the low of 20 from a couple of days ago. This is definitely a good sign in my opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're out of the woods just yet. I could see this potentially going lower to around 15 to even 10 potentially. However, I do think that it's more likely at this point that we found a bottom, so 20 could have ended up being the low on the fear and greed index. But nonetheless, guys, whenever this index is showing that we're this far into fear, I do think that it is a great time to be accumulating altcoins. Now, none of the videos that I make on this channel are ever intended to be financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor, so guys, please do your own research. But in my opinion, and what I'm personally doing is buying some altcoins. And I'm actually taking some of the biggest bets that I've taken in the altcoin space since like around April during the immense amounts of fear caused from the Trump tariff situation. So take that with a grain of salt, as I said, but I do think that there is a very good risk to reward to buying right now compared to buying up in greed or especially extreme greed. And I think that any buys that I'm personally making right now will end up paying off quite nicely once we finally do return to neutral or greed in the next couple of months. All right, guys, I did want to take a look at one piece of news. There's not too many crazy news stories going on right now because it is a Saturday, but this one I did think was quite interesting. So breaking news, 10 out of the 11 FOMC members support a 25 basis point rate cut in December. So that is very positive to say the very least. And if we do end up getting that rate cut, it is going to be incredibly bullish for markets. And I no longer believe that this rate cut is priced in anymore because of the amount of uncertainty around it. The one thing that I do not love to see about this, guys, is the CME group is saying that we only have a 67% chance of getting this rate cut. And I've been paying attention to the CME group prediction market for basically the last 3 to 4 years, and they have been very consistently accurate with these FOMC meetings. So the fact that they're not confident that we're going to get it definitely means that there is a chance that we do pause in December. However, I am leaning towards the fact that we will get this rate cut because I believe that the Fed is much more focused on trying to save the economy rather than bringing inflation down. Now, that's just my opinion, and we'll have to see what Jerome Powell decides to do, as he is a somewhat hawkish Fed chair. But regardless, guys, even if we do pause in December, it's not going to be great for the short term, but I don't think it really matters for the medium term, just because Jerome will be replaced in May, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, and whoever Trump appoints will definitely be cutting rates at a very, very fast pace, because it's beneficial for him, because it makes it look like his economy is fantastic, and going into midterms, you know that he wants that, and also it helps us refinance our debt at a much cheaper cost. So obviously that is very beneficial for our entire country as a whole. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And seriously, guys, thank you so much for all of the support that you've been giving me lately. I actually can't believe that I'm almost at 250 subscribers already. I really never anticipated this being the case. So yeah, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, guys. I really appreciate it. But all right, guys, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.